The organization has really blossomed.
Hello and welcome! It is Pop Live, the show. It is Tuesday, it's 12:30 on the dot. And I did not think that we would be in this position that we're in right now, which is actually airing, streaming to you where you can actually see and hear us. Hopefully you can hear us. I know you can see us, that's for sure. But if any of you saw Jamie's post like maybe an hour ago, we were not prepared to go live at 12:30 today. We expected to because we threw it out there and we put it in the scheduler, but we're still in the process of moving and setting up, and I think Emmett is eating one of our toys. Nato's eating one of our toys.
Oh no.
What's happening?
She's walking on the pops.
Hey,
on the Star Wars pops.
Well, this is a great opportunity to bring Jamie on here. So joining me is Jamie, who is right.
Nato's trying to climb on me now.
Okay, let's get Jamie up. Just know that she's here. This is a very extremely makeshift set, and all of this chaos going on is because Nato and Emmett are here. In fact, here, I think Nato wants to be a part of this. And now
no.
Okay, so here's Nato. She has been...
Wait, hold her up again.
Here's Nato.
Oh!
And now Emmett is upset that I'm carrying Nato. There's just a lot going on. Basically, we have been moving in for the last few days, and the studio, which we are broadcasting from, is the one room that has not been touched. It was not ready at all. So,
Emmett,
all of our equipment was in different places at the rental, in the office downstairs, in the car up here. So, in the last 30 minutes, me and Jamie have been scrambling to set up, and literally with I think 1 minute and 30 seconds before we went on air, we were like, okay, I think we're ready to go. So. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your patience and bearing with us. You probably can't even tell that anything's wrong, but we can. And so we had mentioned last week that we were hopeful that we could be broadcasting from our new studio, and here we are. We did it. Yay, us. Emmett is really upset, and Nato's now mad that I had to put her down.
I'm going to open the door.
Very unprofessional, upsetting, but this actually plays to what we're talking about. We're talking about the pros and cons of going live versus pre-taped, and what is the right way to produce your virtual event. So as you can see, going live has a lot of its drawbacks. There's things that are out of your control, things that you can't stop and reshoot and start over again. Like, we are in it live, obviously. We got the dogs crying. We got now Emmett wanting to be on camera. So here he is. We got the fact that we weren't even equipped and ready to go with 2 minutes before we went on air. And literally 1 minute, 30 seconds, we were ready. So all kinds of unforeseeable things that could happen. And that could be a problem for live. But the thrill and excitement of live, the energy that you feel, I guarantee you I wouldn't have this kind of energy if I was pre-taped, because I would be like, okay, I'm ready. I can just talk and think through things. Let's reshoot that again. Let's get the right angle. Instead, it's like, this is me. This is the way it is. And you can feel that energy. And sometimes, especially now, that is something that's very relatable to people. They want real, they want authentic, they want that feeling of like, hey, anything and everything could happen, and I'm just glad I'm here to experience it. So we'll talk about the benefits, because I think there are great benefits to both live and pre-taped. And let me explain the differences between live and pre-taped. So when you're doing a virtual event, you're going to have it either be, both will be streamed live. Now, the difference between live and pre-taped is that pre-taped is everything was produced in advance. You videoed and recorded all of the elements, and literally all you're doing is pressing play to stream it live. So you just play and sit back and watch the show as it goes on. Versus live is we actually have live hosts going on. The production is live, where we're cutting from one feed to another. So we still may have elements of pre-taped videos in a live stream or a live produced event. For example, we did one for a Waikiki Community Center, and we had pre-taped and produced an overview video where we did an interview with the CEO, and she talked about the different programs and the mission of Waikiki Community Center. And we played that during the live broadcast, but the host, the interactions and stuff was all live. So it's kind of like when you're doing a live news broadcast, right? It's not the anchors are there live, and they're cutting to sometimes live reports out in the field, and then sometimes they're cutting to pre-produced packages where they're talking about a story. So kind of the same thing when it comes to a live virtual event. Now, before we go cracking into this thing, let me bring Jamie back on here, because we had agreed last week that she's going to be a part of this more. So Jamie, welcome to the show. Now that we've kind of settled down a little bit, any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns that you want the people to know about? No? Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you, because while I was running around getting lunch for the kids and picking up some of our equipment from our old rental, Jamie was over here setting up the studio and stuff. And like, there's a large heavy desk that she unwrapped and set up, and the fact that she did all of that on her own, kudos. I only have one hand. Kudos to you.
I only moved it like 2 feet because I gave up.
But that's 2 more feet than it originally it was leaned up against the wall. It was like useless. So right now it's actually pretty cool. I wish I could show you guys, but
I just opened it up so it's in the middle of nowhere.
And if you could, maybe I could. Is it cool?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
I wanted to push.
That's part of what you don't do live.
Okay, I wanted to position the camera so you could see all the chaos behind Jamie, because if you could see below her, all on the floor is about, I don't know, 8 feet wide by 4 feet deep of pop vinyl figures and
Maybe just take a
toys.
picture later.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's horrifying.
And then behind me are boxes of my clothes, and who knows what's in there actually. There's Christmas decorations. So this is actually the closet that there's nothing in there, but all the stuff that's going in there is right behind me. So anyways, the point of this all is, let's get started. Okay, so live versus pre-tape. So the point of this isn't to discourage anyone from doing one or the other. The purpose of today is to explain the benefits of both, so that you can determine what is ideal for your particular type of event and your specific audience. So again, as we've been talking about for the past several weeks, the most important step is recognizing and establishing who is your target audience. When you figure that out, then you can figure out, well, what's the best way to reach them? So once you've figured out who the audience is that you're trying to reach, then you figure out what type of event that you want to create, so that it serves them and it engages them and it's the most effective. So for a lot of you nonprofits, a lot of events that we see coming up are fundraisers. And so recognizing who you're trying to reach as far as potential donors and sponsors, and then what would be as far as relatable to your organization and your mission and your audience, that will determine what kind of event that you want to have, what type of things and elements you want in your program. But there's also others of you who are doing more of like educational type of programs, like seminars or conferences and whatnot, where you're trying to not necessarily raise funds, but you're trying to pass on information. And so I'm going to use those two examples as maybe the way to help you understand the benefits of picking live versus pre-taped for a specific type of event. Now, this isn't like the big band-aid that covers everything. This is just for examples purposes. So don't think that when I say, oh, for all fundraising virtual events, they all should be done this way. Not the case, but just because I want to keep it relatable and easy to understand, I'll use these two examples. So for an event that is doing a fundraiser, a lot of the key to getting these donations is that connection with the audience, getting them to feel, getting them to give them their why, like why should I care, right? And once they can connect with you on that, then they could be more engaged, more inspired to support and give. And a lot of these events, it's hard to get them interested in such, because if you just start off with like lecture, it could kind of be a turnoff for them. It's not entertaining sometimes, and doesn't feel like that you're valuing them. You're just talking at them, not with them. So a lot of times, having live interaction with your audience can really make them feel like, 1, appreciated, 1, 2, recognized, 3, feel like this is an event, this is an activity. So for the Waikiki Community Center virtual event we did, they wanted to interact with their live audience in several ways. They wanted to, 1, show callers from their homes calling in and showing their watch parties. They wanted to be able to call out people that are participating in the chat and saying like, hey, we got Megan from Michigan, thank you for joining us, she said that she's enjoying it, and things like that. So people, when they hear their names, when they see their faces, when they feel recognized, it's like, yes, I'm part of this is awesome. And you see a lot more engagement going on. And so even with the when they were doing their live auction, also it was like they were bringing up items as they saw, like the different auction items that were getting some attention, some that weren't getting attention. Like they could specifically ride what was happening at the moment. If you were doing all of this pre-taped, all of those elements are not possible. You can't know in advance, oh, I'm gonna call out Megan from Michigan, who's gonna be typing in specific comments in the chat, unless you're faking it and you just make, which is what I used to do in radio. I'll give you a little secret. When I was pre-taping my radio shows, sometimes I would make up names and people like, oh, Wendy from Nakakilo is calling. She's working tonight at 7-Eleven and she's listening to us. So thank you, Wendy. And that was just because I wanted to make it feel like it's live. And I thought, no one knows if Wendy's listening or not, or who Wendy is. Turns out she was a fictional character. But I don't encourage you to do that because it's disingenuous. 2, they can actually see people who are on the chat going, I don't see anybody named Wendy from Nanakuli on here. That's BS. So you want to avoid doing that. But all of those live interactions, not possible if you're pre-taping the whole thing. And for these type of events where they want, in particular Waikiki Community Center wanted that energy, that excitement, that live feeling. They wanted to feel like as if they were doing it in person, which is what they're trying to replace, their in-person event, and have it be fun and interactive and engaging. And so having it done live, like that's the way you can do that. I always use this example, and I hope this doesn't go over the heads of people who are not fans of live sports, but I liken it to the difference between watching, back in the days, Monday Night Football was always pre-taped here in Hawaii. They would broadcast it during prime time at 7 p.m. here in Hawaii. But on the mainland, it had already been done. The game was over. So if you're watching the 6 o'clock news, you'd see them go, all right, fans, if you don't want to know what happened in tonight's game, close your ears and shut your eyes. and then they would give the score of the game. And so those who wanted to, be surprised and feel like they watched it live without knowing the results in advance would ignore what the reporters were saying. Then they started to make it available, saying, hey, we'll air it live at 3 p.m. in Hawaii time. We understand a lot of people, are working and stuff and can't watch it live, so we'll re-air it again at 7 o'clock when people can make it and stuff. And there's so many instances where people were like, I can't, like, if the game's over already, there's no point in me watching it tape delayed. Like, I need to see it live. I need to know what's happening, knowing that it already has happened and whatever could be exciting and whatnot, like, people are already talking about it and know about it already. So when they started showing it live at 3 o'clock, like, a lot of Hawaii sports fans were thrilled because they were like, okay, finally I can watch it live. And people would are actually adjusting their schedules so that they can watch it live, because even if they avoid spoilers and whatnot, it's just the feeling of watching it live, because you never know what can happen. They always say the beauty of live television, right? So that excitement, that energy, and knowing that you're seeing what you're seeing right now is happening right now. There's no filter. This is the real deal, right? So same thing goes with virtual events. When you know that it's live, like, you know that there could be technical difficulties, there could be screw-ups, but there could be awesome, really great organic moments as well. And knowing that you can be a part of it and feel like, people worry, like, I don't want to go live because if we screw up, everyone's going to see it. And that's kind of like what we're doing here. Like, you saw us screwing up and like the dogs running in here and crying and all this stuff. But you can get that sense and feeling like, hey, this is what's going on. It didn't detract from that we're still doing this episode. I'm still giving you the content. And it almost feels like, for me, like the energy that I get as a host, as an MC, it's like, well, gotta keep going because there's no stop, there's no cut. And so you start to actually, as an audience member, like, I don't know, attached to that feeling too. So we're in it together. It's not a matter of like, people are going to be like, oh man, so unprofessional. Well, they might say that. So unprofessional. I can't watch this anymore. You guys shouldn't have gone live. I mean, of course, yes, when you're doing your event, you want to set all your protocols in place and make sure everything is as tight and buttoned up as possible. But you also understand that there could be unforeseeable things that could happen that may or may not go right or wrong. And that's cool. That's part of live TV.
I would talk about our screw-ups with Alice, and that people were very forgiving.
Oh, yeah. So the first event?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first ever event that we did, live virtual event, we did it for Alice Inouye and her Happiness U 7th anniversary event. And there were so many technical glitches in the beginning of that. Like, my mic wasn't on and the stream didn't go correctly or something. Like, we had to, I don't know. We just were like, oh no, we've just ruined her event and nobody's going to be watching. Within a matter of a few minutes, everything was online, we're good to go, and the event went generally without a hitch. And it's funny because Jamie and I were just like the whole time mortified. Like, this thing went...
I think every time the camera went to you, I forgot to turn your mic on.
Yeah.
It was like almost for the whole event.
Yeah. And I think I used to joke that was Jamie's fantasy. Like, in real life, she wishes she could just mute me. But for this event, we just kept thinking, oh my gosh, we ruined it. But we got so much great feedback, and everyone was just like saying, that was so awesome. It was unlike anything we've been to in the virtual space before, and the engagement was fun and all this stuff. And then some even mentioned the technical things, like, and it was so great that you guys just rolled with the punches. Like, these things happen.
They said it was well produced.
Yeah. So
like, what?
So I think the lessons we learned from that is that for people on the other side, the audience, the viewers, and I say this because I know that there's been also people who have explained, like I've watched some, virtual events and so many technical errors, and it was frustrating, and it ruined the experience. That does happen. Yes, we've watched several of those as well too, but I'm just trying to say this, that just because there are technical issues that can and probably will happen in a live stream, it doesn't mean death blow for you. For us, every single live stream that we've done, there has been at least one glitch. And as minor as it is, or as great as it was, it didn't define or take away from the experience. Like so far, knock on wood, all of the responses we've received and witnessed from attendees was like overwhelmingly glowing, where people were like, that was so much fun, it was well produced, and it was so cool, and all this stuff. So whether my mic wasn't on, or if the camera was off, or the music stopped, or whatever, it didn't bother them. They just felt like they could recognize, one, the effort that went into producing this, but two, the content was what they wanted. It spoke to them. The engagement was something that they really enjoyed. So when you have a good program, when you have things in place to put the audience that you're trying to reach as the focal point and the focus, more than likely it'll be fine no matter what kind of technical issues arise. So don't let the possibility of technical issues in a live produced event be the reason why you don't do it.
I think you should talk about how to do your best to make sure they don't have tech issues on the day of.
Okay, so the things that we've been doing to ensure that we don't have tech issues the day of your event, because how many of these like live like these Zoom conferences have we gone to, and people are like, I can't hear, and the mic's not working, and the person calling in, they're having technical issues, like they're coming in choppy, like all of these things where it's like, wow, this is really affecting the experience and the production of this event. Those kind of things could easily be taken care of prior to, and I think a lot of people don't realize that just doing something like a tech call or a tech check the day before could make it so much, avoid all of these problems as best as possible. So what we do is we do what's called a tech check the day before, where we call each and every person that's coming into us virtually through video calls and whatnot, and we run through their connections. We test their internet speed. We ensure that they are connected through Ethernet versus Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi can be affected no matter what happens. Like someone else connects to it, the signal drops out and stuff. But if you're connected to Ethernet, it's a consistent, strong stream. We also run through how they connect to the calls so that they know the day of when and where they're going to be logging in from, so that they get to experience it and they know that, oh, this is how it's done. So it eases their mind, because there's a lot of anxiety the day of, like, oh, what if I forget how to log in, or what if the login password they gave me doesn't work, all these kind of things. If we do it the day before, we can run through all those problems then, so that the day of, it's like, oh, we've been through it before, I know what to do when this does or doesn't work. And we also run through lighting, camera angles, all of those things, give them what to expect. All of these things go a long way to help prevent any kind of easily fixable or preventable issues technically, but it also puts the guests at ease as well. There's a lot of the guessing gets eliminated. Anything that I missed in that?
No.
Okay. So as far as the benefits of going live, I think we've gone over a lot of them. I just wanted to share a real quick story. I wrote it in the description, but I was meeting with a potential new client, and they were led to believe through conversations with other production companies, through experiences of their own, that you just don't do live production for virtual events. They were led to believe that all virtual events are done pre-produced, or if you've seen them done live, like the experience is awful, and that they've attended live produced conferences or fundraisers, and it was just awful. And so they thought, they were saying, in a perfect world, I would like to do it live because I see there's elements that live could provide for us to do things that we want to, like the live auctions and such. But one, I don't know if that's even possible. From what I understand, it's not possible to do live produced virtual events. And two, I was told that it's like everyone just does it pre-produced, so we just gotta pre-shoot everything. And if you are of that same belief, the purpose of me sharing this is that all of our events thus far that we've produced virtually have been live. We're currently producing a pre-produced event right now, so we do both. So I'm not trying to say, choose live all the time, but what I am saying is that it's very doable. You can put procedures in place to alleviate as many of the foreseeable technical issues that you worry about. But again, I got to hammer home that if anything technically does go wrong, it's not the end of the world. It actually you can use it to lend to the experience for your event. So sometimes you can embrace the elements of live instead of rejecting them. And for events like where you want a lot of engagement, interaction, you want your sponsors and your attendees to feel like they're being recognized and appreciated, live really gives you a lot of those opportunities to do that, because you can go off on the cuff, off the fly. You can interact with them, respond to the things that they're saying in the chats. You can call them live and have them interacting with you live. There's a lot that can go on. And again, as I mentioned, just the energy of the production is different. No matter how much I've tried when I've pre-shot things, no matter how much I've tried to convince myself, same energy is live, pretend like that this is live, I've never been able to successfully recreate that energy of live. It's just, unless you're way more talented and capable than me, it's very hard to do. Anything else about live?
When do you want to talk about the terms of service?
What is
that pretending that it's pre-taped. Pretending that something pre-taped is live is against Facebook terms of service.
Oh, why don't you share with that? Because I actually don't know that much into it other than what you just said.
That's it. It's just,
okay.
it's just so like if you tape something, but you're making like it's live, like what you were saying, like, oh, Wendy from Makakilo's calling in.
Yeah.
And if your whole event is like that and it's actually taped, but you play it and you're pretending that it's live, that's against Facebook terms of service. I don't know how YouTube feels about it, and I don't know what Facebook would actually do about it, but you might just get banned from going live or whatever.
Well, so let me explain the reason why that is. Some people may be like, that's kind of messed up that Facebook would do that. Well, the purpose, you got to go back to what the purpose of Facebook is that they want interaction, they want communication between people. And so that's why they're really pushing this live element. Like if you do a live stream, like they will more than likely share that, spread that across your feed more so than say like a post that has saying something like, hey, my cat ate tuna today out of a dish. It's like, meh. But it's like, hey, I'm going live now to show you that my cat is eating a tuna out of a dish. They'll probably like spread that across your friends' timelines more because they want to encourage more people to jump on and watch your stream live. They want to encourage people to stream live because they see that as the most effective way to engage interaction and communication. Wow, I'm turning really red.
I know, the lighting's really weird.
It's not because I'm nervous or anything and hot. It's actually really cold. It's just that the lights are changing. Anyways, and so that's why when Facebook has this like terms of, what is it called?
Service.
Terms of service. they want to discourage and maybe penalize people from pretending that they're live, because it's gaming the system. It's gaming the purpose of what streaming live was meant and intended for. So if you're streaming live and saying, hey, I'm going live, but it's all pre-taped, they're like, well, that's not going live. That's not what the whole purpose of this is. So
I have another thing about that, like pretending that you're live when you're not actually live.
mm-hmm.
There's somebody that I follow and I'm a fan of, like I've bought courses that she's done, and she just did something where she said she was going live to talk about whatever upcoming class she had going on. But I think it was actually taped. But she was saying in there like, oh, I have this question coming in from so-and-so on the chat. And I did look at the chat and I saw there was no question on the chat. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I felt really...
like duped.
Yeah, it made me feel yucky.
Mm-hmm.
And then like later on in the comments on her Facebook group, people were talking about it.
Wow.
Like
So
how was she going live every 15 minutes for like so many hours? Like I don't... So people were really bothered by that. And I think you should just keep that in mind if you're considering pre-taping and pretending live.
Yeah.
I think that doesn't apply if you're broadcasting on TV,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it applies for broadcasting on social.
Yeah. The rules for social and TV, there are a lot of differences. So
And the way people interpret it and
Yeah.
what they're thinking is happening.
Yeah, we learned to just be open and honest too. For Alice Inouye's second event that we did, she was interviewing guests from international, or across different time zones. So to have them on live was virtually impossible. Is impossible. So she had to pre-tape those interviews, and instead of pretending like, okay, we're gonna go live now to England and hey Nancy, right? Instead, she's like, hey, because the differences in time zones, we had to pre-tape these, but here's my conversation with Nancy. But her hosting it was live, explained it, and then she sent it to that. So, I think if you, yep.
We have a question from Linda.
Oh, hey, Linda.
And Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Linda said, any pros and cons with YouTube versus Facebook going live?
Okay, great question. So Linda's asking the pros and cons of going through Facebook versus YouTube Live. So the two functions are a little different, and that kind of can change things. You can, if you have the right software, you can stream on both. That's what we're doing right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're also on Facebook Live. If you're on Facebook Live, you can also catch us on YouTube Live. YouTube Live is kind of like a great search engine for video content. So as far as playback ability, searchability and stuff, it's great to go live there because people can always search, like if they wanted to look up pop creative media, like all of our lives would pop up there and they can say, oh, these are all little, great live topics that the show is putting on, and you can archive your stuff there. It also opens you up to audiences that, if they're looking up like, hashtag live broadcast or something, and if we use that as a tag in our post, like it can come up. So people go to YouTube for content, for information, education. So it's good to house your stuff there. Also, if you have a large audience, a large subscriber base on YouTube, go to that, because that YouTube will allow or notify all of your audience and subscribers like, hey, Pop's gonna go live in 2 minutes. Jump on now. Pop's live now. Go check it out. So go to where your audience is for sure. And then as far as Facebook goes, like again, same thing. If you have a lot of followers there, that's great. Facebook also has they really want to encourage the live aspects of things. So again, as I mentioned, they're going to probably use their algorithm to be more proactive in sharing with your friends and colleagues on their timelines about your live event and such. So the comment sections on both work pretty well. Facebook is way better though, because after it's done, and if you you throw it up on your timeline and such, it'll still have all the chats from the live stream, so you can see what people were saying during the stream. Whereas YouTube, I don't know if they've changed it yet, but up until the last time I checked, all of the live chats just are only viewable live. Once it goes into the archive mode, there's no more chat, or you don't see the comments anymore. It'll only be the comments that happen after, as people watch it on replay.
I think it's easier for people to comment on Facebook because they're already logged in.
That's right. Oh, so that's another point. So while Facebook's got so many positives, there's a lot of people out there who think, who don't want to be on Facebook, who don't have a Facebook profile, and incorrectly believe when you say, hey, I'm going to go live on Facebook, tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock. They go, oh, I don't have a Facebook account, so I can't watch it. They can. You can watch a Facebook Live without an account as long as you set your live to be public, viewable to the public. If you make it public, then you just got to give them the link to your Facebook Live channel or page, and anyone can watch it. But even with that being said, even if you explain that, there's a lot of people who go like, I don't want to figure that out because I don't have a Facebook. And you can tell them to their blue in the face, you don't need a Facebook. Like, I don't have one. So they already have eliminated themselves from being a possible viewer. Whereas YouTube, everyone just understands whether you have a YouTube account or not, they know that you can still watch YouTube videos. So for spreading your event to non-Facebook users, YouTube has a lot more like a worldwide acceptance and people thinking like that they can watch it no matter what. The problem with not having a YouTube account is that you can't leave comments, you can't engage in the comment section and in the chat section because you need to have a profile. And it's harder, I think, to set up a profile for YouTube than it is for Facebook, because YouTube, you gotta have like a Google account or something like that. It takes a little while and people get confused, and that's why I think a lot don't create a YouTube account, because they're like, it's too much work. I'll just watch the video, I don't need to comment. Whereas if you're on Facebook and you have a Facebook account, you just comment in there, everyone knows, like, hey, that's Jamie, she's writing this thing. So those are kind of the pluses or the what differences between the two. But as far as pros and cons of doing one versus the other, again, it just depends on if you could do both, that's great. But if you have to choose one or the other, the benefits for Facebook is a lot easier of interaction on the chats and comments. And Facebook does probably a better job of reaching out and spreading your event to your followers. Because most people have more followers on Facebook and friends on Facebook than they do on YouTube.
I would add about Alice's event, her first one, because I think she only had like 16 subscribers on YouTube at the time.
And she had like several thousand on
Facebook. So our primary one was Facebook, but we also did it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But she got a lot of views after the fact on YouTube because of search terms. So not like you mentioned before, if somebody goes and searches pop creative media on YouTube, but people search for stuff like if they were searching for astrology or something like that, then they would find her video. So you just add in those keywords, add in the tags to your video after the event is done, and then it's searchable for people, anybody going on YouTube searching for those things.
That's a great example, because the live stream of her event, she had several thousand followers on Facebook, and so she had several hundred viewers live. And throughout like the next 2 weeks, the replays of it, she had views go up. But on YouTube, where she only had 16 subscribers, she didn't have a whole lot of live YouTube views. I think maybe 50 or something like that. But after 2 weeks, she had several hundred views because of exactly what Jamie described. What is happening here?
It's not happy.
I'm just going to turn it off because it's very distracting. Anyways, so that's a great point. So those are some examples of pros and cons and differences between Facebook Live and YouTube Live. That's a great question. We kind of take it for granted because we go, oh, we can just do both, and we have the technology and software to do that. But some people don't have that, or the internet speed bandwidth to support that. I would say Facebook seems to, like, from a user's perspective, Facebook is a little easier to go live from my experience, because I've had to do it for personal reasons for both sides, and Facebook's live interface has been easier for me to figure out, less technical stuff to deal with, whereas YouTube is like you have to understand megahertz and all kinds of weird terms that I didn't know, so I just kind of guessed and like, oh, sounds good, and okay, now it looks weird, okay, change it. All right, but thanks, Linda. Thanks for that question. It's good to see you again on here. I think we missed you the other week. Okay, so we've gone a lot about live, but not a lot about pre-taped. And because I expounded, is that the right word? I talked a lot about how much we love live. It may come across that we are against pre-taped, and that's not the case.
Not all. I don't know.
This is the benefit of the drawback of live. Anyways, so going pre-taped, pre-taped gives you a lot more control over the flow, the content of your event, and again, helps really prevent a lot of the troubleshooting that you may encounter. There's also there's just a lot of content sometimes that you don't have the ability to do live. Like, you have to pre-tape things, especially with the COVID restrictions and stuff, the amount of people gathered in one place and such. So for instance, like a performance, having all of the performers in one place at one time live, like, that's not safe, that's not responsible, it's not legal in a lot of places. So if you pre-produce and shoot things and edit it together to make it feel and look like there's a lot of people there at the same time, but it's not, it really wasn't. And also when you're doing events where you're giving a lot of information, education, content of that nature, which doesn't need interaction, sometimes that's a lot, like, pre-producing a virtual event is a lot less work, or it's a lot easier, a lot less stressful. So that's one really great benefit to it. You can take your time and put together a really nicely well-packaged event without the stress and panic of streaming live and producing it live. And then remember how I said, like, we had to do a lot of the tech check and the tech call before and things to ensure everybody's all on board. If you're pre-producing it, you don't have to do any of that. You just, as you're recording your interviews virtually, if there's any kind of technical issues, you walk them through it at that moment. It's all good. Okay, let's hit record. Let's do it now. So there's a lot of benefits as far as the production side of pre-producing or pre-taping an event. And so the times where I see it really valuable, as far as aside from that angle, is if there's no reason that you need to go live, like there's no live interactions with audience members, you're not taking questions, or you're not commenting on people's posts to your event, any kind of, if there's nothing of that sort that has any value to your event, to your audience, then there's no reason to go live, really. And so you might as well save yourself a lot of the headache and stress and pre-produce it and really have it nicely put together. Television networks right now are doing a lot of virtual events on their air and broadcast. They do not have the bandwidth or desire to do theirs live. So all of their virtual events that they air, because they have to put it on sometimes multiple channels, because they also, their production team is, they gotta produce, like, I think now they're doing 6 or 7 live news broadcasts throughout the day. So they don't have the capacity to air live virtual events. So sometimes there just isn't the physical capacity to do live. So there's benefits to going with a network to air your virtual event. And so if you're going to go that route, you have to do it pre-produced. So those are some kind of like, general pointers as to...
And what is the benefit of going on a network?
So the benefit of going on a network is their reach in the sense of the type of ways they reach their audience. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying, oh, they have a larger audience, because if you're going online, your audience technically is the entire world. But with television, what they'll do is not only they'll air your event, but they will attach it with a marketing campaign to promote it throughout the weeks or month leading up to the event. So you get not only commercials airing throughout the days and throughout different shows saying, hey, tune in, this awesome virtual event for Pop Creative Media is coming up, and they're going to have live performances, or not live, they're going to have performances, they're going to have, I don't know, Emmett's going to be on there, it's going to be awesome. They have the ability to use the power of their morning news, or their what are those things called, like high news now, or not high news now, like wake up kind of shows. They're not news shows, but they're like lifestyle magazine video shows or TV shows. Anyways, they can have guests on there to promote the event, explain it and such. So the power of their media in promoting the event can really build the audience and your viewership that way, and you can reach their specific audience, which is fairly large here locally. Like if you look at the networks here in Hawaii and their ratings for viewership, like tons of thousands and thousands of viewers, where you also have people who are what is that word, when it's their routine just to watch that network, that station. So they're not necessarily watching appointment television. They just I always like keeping it on KGMB or KHNL because I like their news shows and I like their shows on there. You can now reach those audience and those eyeballs that maybe if they are not your friends on Facebook or subscribers on YouTube and whatnot, now you can get in front of them because they are committed, loyal viewers of this network that you're airing your event on. So it's a way to get in front of the eyeballs of different audiences that maybe you might not normally have access to. And if that is one of your goals, to reach their audience, that's the best way to get them. They have that captive audience. They have the way to reach them and get them excited and invested in your event before it even airs. And so that's what I would say is the big benefit of going with airing your event on a network versus just relying on your own social media or your own YouTube platform to stream your event. With that comes with a budget, though. Just keep that in mind. Like, you also not have to pay for the production of your event, but also for the ad time and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind. I don't want to send you in there blind and be like, why do we have to pay for this too? Everything has a cost. Just saying. So if those of you on a really conservative, tight budget, it just might be, the reality is you might not have the budget to afford to go on a platform like network. And the beauty of going on Facebook Live or YouTube Live is it's free. You still have to pay for the production if you hire someone like us, but if you produce it yourself, theoretically you can put on an event for free. Anything I'm missing on that?
I don't know.
All right. This is that awkward time where you just kind of stare at each other.
Oh, I didn't put myself on. Sorry.
So I know this is a lot. I tried to go into some specifics. Jamie helped steer me in those directions. But again, I think the main thing is, one, recognizing who you're trying to reach, who is your audience, what it is that you're trying to to get them to experience, or what action do you want them to take, or what do you want them to feel?
Oh, I had one other thought.
Oh,
Sorry.
hey, there we go.
So with a pre-taped one, you can fit a lot more into the program.
How so?
Like we're seeing that now. Like there's so many packages in there. So if I think with live, you're gonna devote more time to interaction, and people are gonna be talking. Like the host is gonna be talking more to interact with the people on the chat or with callers. So it's more about that kind of engagement.
The experience.
Yeah, the experience of it. Whereas with pre-taped, you're not spending any time on that. So you can use that time to fit in more videos about I don't know, what your work is and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great example there. Because, for example, for Waikiki Community Center, we did 3 pre-tapes video packages, so to speak, and a ton of time was invested in the live interactions and the live check-ins and all that stuff. For this upcoming event that we're doing, that's pre-produced or pre-taped, we have, I want to say, like over 10 video packages, and so they are able to concentrate on different topics. So they have a video for a new program that they have. They have a video for a testimonial of a client. They have a video for their goals and dreams for the next few years. They have a video for the past. Like they have different packages now that they can specifically, different stories that they can tell, because they have all that time now to fill. So that's a great thing. Okay, I think that's it. As I continue to wrap up, Jamie will probably interrupt me. Like, oh, I have one more thought. But I will slowly transition to getting on out of here. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here today. Appreciate your patience and understanding with all of our technical issues and
I think the sound is better this time. Let us know how the sound is. We've been having a lot of problems with that.
Yeah. I should have asked that before we started. I can't tell you how many times I've watched the replay and like, oh, my mic wasn't on the whole show. I'm just hearing off in the distance. Okay. Well, for those of you watching...
We promise we're professional with other people.
Yeah. We make sure it's done right for others. For ourselves, not so much. It's kind of like those of you who are like teachers and caretakers of children. It's like, your own kids, forget them. They can eat whatever. But for other people's kids, we gotta take good care of them. Right, Jill? You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, but yeah, thank you for joining us here. Next week, we'll be back on again, same day, same time, hopefully in a much better room setup, and technical issues all will be ironed out. But it'll be Tuesday at 12:30 Hawaii Standard Time. We'll be on Facebook Live and at YouTube Live simultaneously. If you're watching this in the replay...
Oh, thank God. Linda said the sound is definitely better.
Yay! Thank you, Linda. Whew.
Yay!
One thing went right today. But yeah, if you want to ask us any follow-up questions or add to the discussion, I encourage you to put it in the comment section. And if you haven't signed up yet for our POP newsletter, it's a bi-monthly newsletter where we share tips on going live, video production, all that kind of stuff. And we also keep you up to date with things that are going on with us. Apparently people really enjoy the personal touch that we add to our newsletters. I think.
I put it down.
There it is. Okay. I'm going in blind with this. I don't have my monitor, so I don't know what you're seeing. But the web address is right here. Just go to that. And you can sign up for our newsletter. Promise we won't spam you. You get 2 a month. That's it. And also, I think if you're not following us on Facebook or YouTube, Pop Creative Media. Just find it, the big orange circle logo says Pop Creative Media on there. That's us. Please follow us, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will see you next week on another episode of the Pop Live Show.
Oh no. Wait. Oh no.
Awkward silence.
Wait. Oh, my mouse isn't working.
Oh boy.
Wait. Oh.
This is